I coach leaders to help them with a specific leadership challenge that they're having. My approach is a little bit different. I use metaphors to help them identify what they're currently doing and where they're stuck, and to paint a picture of a different way that they could be leading. One leader that I worked with was a senior manager at a medium-sized company. She wanted to be more strategic. It was a technology company, and she wanted ultimately to be able to move into more senior roles. But what we focused on was how could she be more strategic and less operational. So the metaphor for her in her current way was that of the supportive rabbit. And as the supportive rabbit, she quickly moved between project to project, and she could get a lot of work done in a short amount of time. She was supportive because she worked with and cared about the team that she was leading. We looked at what was helpful in that way of operating and what was limiting in that way of operating. And then we looked at a future metaphor for her that painted the picture of how she could leave differently. And that metaphor was that of a curious owl. So a curious owl, an owl can turn their head almost in a full circle. I think it's about 180 degrees. They can see in day and night. And with that radius, they can get lots of different perspectives. And so for her, as a curious owl, meant that she had that broader context for what she sees, and can reach into those broader experiences to be more strategic. Her strengths lie in her ability to fly, but then with her really good eyesight, see down into the detail, go down, deal with what needs to be dealt with, but then come back up to that higher level perspective. So her strength is really in that perspective taking. So these metaphors allowed this leader to see the strengths of and limitations of how she was currently leading others. And she was able to move from being very operational in the weeds to having a more of a strategic focus through having that and developing that broader perspective. The future metaphor also helped her envision a different way of working and working with her team and her colleagues. It's sometimes hard to look in the mirror and see what's not quite right. We can get defensive and guilty even about how we're showing up. And we don't always know what the alternative is. Even if we are self-aware and we can look in that mirror, we don't always know the alternatives. So I find that the metaphors that I use are a powerful way to coach leaders so they can see themselves more objectively without that defensiveness or guilt. And they can see a new version of themselves and know what they're working towards. So if this approach to leadership coaching resonates with you, or you think it would resonate with a leader that you know who has a specific challenge that they're working on, I'd love to have a conversation and see if there's a fit.